There. Dang, not big enough. Not big enough. Big enough. Ooh, pumpkin. Pink pumpkin. Pink pumpkin. Pumpkin. Got it? I'll get it.
Yeah, I think it was wood.
Is your hand tired? Want me to? Yeah. Hand
Are y'all in trouble or something? Y'all have to keep coming back? Or y'all getting a lot of extra points? Not really.
Not a lot of extra.
Not a lot of points. But any extra points count though, right?
Oh, yeah.
Well, she told me next week.
Last week, first play this week.
The government. No, government.
I'm really good.
History.
Actually, both.
That's your whole house on it.
She called me out in front of the whole class today. So.
We were like,
They're like, well, if you had looked a little harder at this, you wouldn't have to, you wouldn't be in this predicament. And I was like,
I like government.
Government's fine.
No, but government is hard. Yeah. Oh yeah, very hard.
She don't write what she wants, it's wrong. You can write what's in the book and it'll be wrong. It's not her definition. It's her definition. I'm saying it. You can write the book definition and it's wrong because it's not.
Okay, it is now 6 o'clock. We'll go ahead and call this meeting to order. Y'all can keep your seats. If you would, join me in a word of prayer. So, Father, we just want to stop and thank you, Lord, for being a God that hears us, Lord. And we ask you tonight to lead and direct us as a community, Lord. And we want to do things that are pleasing to you, Lord. So help us to know the right decisions to make, Lord. Help us to know how you would have us lead, Lord. I want to thank you for this council. Thank you for the people here, most of all. I want to thank you for your son, Jesus. And I pray this in his name. Amen.
Amen.
Number 2 on our agenda is approval for the special meeting of September 24th that you have a copy in your packet. Special meeting was approving the Delta County Appraisal District's budget.
A motion to accept it.
Got a motion from Donna, second from Alan. We have any questions on that? We're going to take that with the correction of, David did find a misspelled word. We're going to get that corrected in there also. Well,
And the agenda, it's got a title also.
okay.
Should be number 4.
So, we got a couple of typos there, so we're going to get those corrected. So, okay, well, let's take that to vote then, David. Alan? Amanda? Donna? Bear? Okay, ayes will have that. Those minutes will stand as presented. Consider approval of minutes from the October 7th public hearing. This was the public hearing on the TDHCA Home Housing Rehabilitation Assistance that we all met with and discussed, and had Charles come talk to us about that. Got a motion from Bear to accept those minutes. Got a second from Amanda. Do we have any questions on those minutes? If not, we'll take that to vote then. David? Alan?
Abstain.
Amanda?
Aye.
Donna?
Stay.
Bear? Ayes have that. Those minutes will stand as presented. Next, discuss an action on resolution requesting exception to the conflict of interest for the TDHCA home program contract. You have the resolution there in your packet. We could ask for a motion to be read by caption.
Read this by caption.
Got a motion from David, second from Bear. Let's take that to vote real quick. David? Alan?
Abstain.
Amanda?
Aye.
Donna?
Aye.
Bear? Okay.
This will be resolution number 01-10-19, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Cooper, Texas, authorizing the submission of a request for the exception to a conflict of interest to the Texas Department of Housing and Community Affairs, TDHCA, and the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, HUD, and authorizing the city mayor to act as the city's executive officer and authorized representative in all matters pertaining to the city's request.
So we would then need a motion to accept that, and like I said, you all have a copy there in your packet if there's any questions.
Make a motion to accept it.
Got a motion from Amanda,
Yeah, I think so.
second from Bear. Any questions on that? If not, we'll take that to vote then. David? Alan?
Abstain.
Amanda?
Aye.
Donna?
Aye.
Bear? Okay, ayes have that. That resolution will stand. Thank you very much. Item number 5, discussing possible action on implementing a business moratorium. Kevin Carter, Chris Fitzgerald are here to present to the council.
Since it's literature, I'm supposed to have had up here ahead of time, so I hand that down.
You can, yes, sir.
You told me y'all would share.
Thank you.
First off, thank you for your time. I appreciate it. As a business owner here in Cooper, and multiple businesses actually, we just broke ground on a gym out on Dallas Avenue. Collateral Consultants is our main business we own out here on Highway 24, and then we also own Charleston Sky out in Charleston. The reason I'm here this evening is because it has come to my attention that shortly after breaking ground on our gym, there was another franchise gym that was doing a poll about coming here. And it really puzzled me because the last thing that we need in this town is another empty building. And why do I say that? Because Collateral Consultants is our #1 priority business. That's what helps me do what I do. That's what's helped build Charleston Sky. That's what's building this gym. It's a multi-million-dollar a year business. I don't say that to brag. What I'm saying is we're diversifying and investing in Delta County in several different ways. And what I don't want to see is, I don't want to see the businesses here, not just my business, but multiple business people that I've spoken to over the last month. I don't want to see it get spread so thin that we start losing businesses just because everybody that wants to come to town, we sign them up, regardless of the business. A great case in point, we have a parts store on the outside of town there. If AutoZone come to town and you allow them to build here, you're going to put that one out of business, hands down. There's no other way to put that. The Mexican food places here in town, there's 2 here. If you allow a 3rd one on the square or anywhere in town, one of those is going away. And that's being as a part of the strategic development committee that the mayor put together, being invited to be on that. That's one of the topics we discussed, is how to be proactive and not reactive. The last thing that we want to do is water down or oversaturate, I think it's a proper terminology, for businesses. For a gym to be successful, you're going to need approximately 300 members. The national average for a gym is about 17%. So if you do the math on 1,969 people in the city of Cooper, that comes out at right at 300 people, about 280 people. At $35 a piece, that's going to be enough to cover overhead, pay the bills, and yeah, make some money. I'm not a dummy. I'm in this, that's what business owners do. If you bring a second one to Cooper, one of 2 things is going to happen. One of them is going to go out of business, or it's going to be somebody like myself that has the capital and the means to drop my rates down to a crazy rate of $10 or something a piece and put them out of business. And you're going to be stuck with another empty building in town. So that's what forced me to start doing some homework and looking at moratoriums. Cities all across the United States implement moratoriums for a temporary basis to say, hey, we need to stop what we're doing because obviously we haven't planned ahead, and this gives us a window of opportunity to plan ahead. And the moratoriums are for every example you can imagine. The size of a building, the looks of a building, the type of a business, all kinds of things. The handout that I gave you here, this Stacy Mitchell, she is one of the leading business experts across the United States. She's a very fluent in basically understanding businesses and how to help towns like Cooper grow in a positive manner instead of oversaturating the market with businesses that when multiple businesses of the same thing come in here. And I can read some of this to you if you'd like, or I'm sure you guys will read it yourself, but it's basically you're asking to enact a policy that restricts the proliferation of a formula business. So basically what they're saying is many towns across the United States are saying, okay, we've had enough of the corporate franchises that come in here and take and take and take. We want independent business owners here. We want people that come in here and give back to the community. I can tell you right now, the 3 businesses that we have here in this town, in Delta County, I have not taken 1 penny from Delta County, tax abatements, nothing. Okay, I've done every bit of this by myself in the grace of God. All right, so these corporate franchises, they're going to come in here and they're going to ask you guys, and I don't know how many stood before you and ask, for various things to build here. They're going to want everything under the sun. But as this thing, the long-term economic impact on this is that these are low-margin businesses and they can shut down just like that. So after they have come in here and got from you everything they can possibly get, they can break camp and be gone in a matter of a day. I'm not that guy. I'm invested here. I got a home here. My family's here. We just closed paperwork today for my son to move here with his family. We're not going anywhere. I graduated from here in 1984. I come back home. This is where I plan on staying. So with that, I actually asked our corporate attorney, Mr. Fitzgerald, to come, and if he has any, you guys have any questions, legal questions or something I can't answer, that's why I asked him to come. If there's anything you want to add that I might have missed out on.
No, I think you put it right on the head. I think it's really, the way Kevin said it, it's to protect the integrity of the small business community, of the community in and of itself, and as a broader, proactive approach to the economic development of the city and this county and community. Obviously I'm here as an advocate for Kevin, but at the same time, I'm over from Paris, and I have somewhat to do with some of our economic development and some of the various positions on boards within our city, and we're seeing some of the same issues. Maybe not as much because Paris is a little bit larger. We have a little bit better of a tax base, our industry and such. But it's like Kevin said, you don't want to see your downtown area empty. You don't. And you don't want to see a mom and pop, a sole-owned business be run out of town because somebody with larger resources, corporate backing, franchising, whatever, come in and shut your neighbor down, for lack of a better way to say that. And so I tend to agree with Kevin, at least on a short-term vision, if you will, the moratorium. I think that makes sense because that allows you all, well, it allows Kevin time to get his business up and running, but it also allows the council, the economic development entity that you all have, to make some kind of long-range planning so that this community stays and grows, as opposed to, for example, Red River County, Clarksville. I don't know if y'all are familiar with that or not, but they can't even keep their city offices and county offices open on Fridays anymore. It's just because there's nothing there. So, but if y'all have any specific questions, I'd be happy to answer. I think Kevin did a great job of making the presentation.
So when Kevin came to me on this, obviously I had to go look up what moratorium, how do you spell that? And so did some research and of course, told Kevin that was the next step for me, is to try to go figure out what that's all about. So reached out to TML, Texas Municipal League, who we're members of, and we get free legal counsel being a member with them. So I reached out to TML and asked them, and they referenced some statutes. So this is probably going to come in the form of questions. So what they sent to me is the procedure for adopting a moratorium, the notice and public requirements, but it gets to the justification for a moratorium, and it gives three very specific. The first is a shortage of essential public facilities, and then it's referring to, so if we don't have enough water, sewer, drainage was also an issue, roads, if we didn't have the road system that was needed there and they needed some kind of a large job done there, then we could say, hey, there's a moratorium in this area because we don't have the facilities for you to do that. And then the other instance was significant need for public facilities, and this was referring to fire and police. If there was truly a concern that we couldn't have fire and police coverage for this, if it was some kind of big event center or something that was going to bring in thousands of people that we couldn't manage, or what have you, that we could do the moratorium. And then the last one was if there was direct and imminent safety, concern for public safety in whatever this business was, so that whatever was going to come in was going to cause an imminent threat to public safety or what have you. So I went ahead and gave the details of this, and their response was that if you do a moratorium, you can't do that on just a particular business. You can't say we're not gonna bring in another gym. I even used the example of a convenience store. What if we said that we only want 3 convenience stores in Cooper, and their response to me was, you can't do that. That opens you up for possibilities of being sued for discrimination or what have you. And if you did a moratorium, or let's say we wanted to look at the zoning of downtown or Dallas Avenue or what have you, we could say there's a block, but it's going to block anything that comes. We can't just specifically go, is that how you understand that? Because again, I'm just going to resources trying to figure out how to address that.
To directly address your question there, TML is a great resource, and so if they did provide that as a statute and their guidance on that, then I would say that, you know, that they're possibly quite correct. However, you can be creative. Okay. I would never suggest anything to the council that would open the council or the city or anyone up to liability. But at the same time, there are ways, there's 2 ways to skin a cat, if you will, or multiple ways. And with the zoning, you can have special use permits. You know, there's ways to get around certain things. And a moratorium in and of itself may not be the proper avenue, but at the same time, you know, Kevin has made a great point, because you want to have a progressive way to economically develop your town, while balancing individual rights, while balancing statutory obligations. And so, you know, moratorium may not be the correct term, may not be the correct path, but at the same time, you know, you've got a brilliant city attorney over here, and I bet through some collaboration, and Kevin and I'd be open to anything, I bet we could put something into place that would meet the goal, not only for Kevin, but for any other small business owner that would be looking to try to invest in this city and this local economy. I don't know that directly on point answered your question.
It does, and I guess, you know, one of the concerns, and Kevin and I have talked about all this, we have a group that has been meeting for 1.5 years trying to talk long-term visions, branding of the city, all those types of things, and this type of discussion has come in. There's a town in New Mexico that does not allow big box chains to come into their city. They don't want it. It's all going to be privately owned. So I know that's out there in the world.
There's also a city in Florida, the name escapes me right now. Actually, I learned about it from Eric Molina, the owner of Tejano's. They actually went there on vacation, and that city has I'm not sure moratorium is the correct terminology, but they do not allow any franchise businesses in their city limits. They have to be independently owned and operated businesses. So I know that, and I don't want anybody to think that this is me standing up here self-serving. This is what opened my eyes to a problem that we had discussed, and then all of a sudden it hit really close to home, and I get to looking and talking to other business owners in the area, and it's a problem for a lot of people here. You know, you've got the immigrants over here. These folks they've invested a ton of money in that place. If you know, there's so many other businesses here that this will affect or will help by you guys being proactive, and that's what I'm asking for.
So another question. So then in my mind is that we would need to have our planning and zoning sit down and start having discussions about what our long-term plans are. We haven't had those discussions outside of our little close-knit group. It's not come to planning and zoning at this point in time. We have not had those discussions about, you know, how we've talked about individual properties that we needed to change when Amanda's shop needed to get, you know, changed in the zoning. We talked those little things, but as far as a long-term plan, so are we opening, and I guess this is it both of you, Jay, are we opening ourselves up to, we've had no discussion about this, and now we're putting something in place because this one business is coming?
I don't think he's saying put it in place here tonight. I think
No, I'm just saying,
I think he's asking that we be open to studying this and making a determination as to how this should fit in with our desired growth and development in the city, which is probably a good idea, which we need to probably do a study of what infrastructures we have that would be needed for these types of things. Because that's one of the issues that you would have on a moratorium is if we couldn't supply the needs that are going to be created by that, or if it was going to swallow up needs that the rest of the city needed, then that's the most solid basis for a moratorium. And those are things that I think we would have to develop from a study focus that, like you say, is probably under the auspices of planning and zoning. You know, and I know planning and zoning people are volunteers, just like all other commissions and so on and stuff like that. And this could be a prodigious task, you know, for planning and zoning to undertake, but that's something that would need to be developed in order for it to be defensible. You know, like you said, the last thing we could do is saying, well, you know, we're just going to favor local people, and anybody from the outside wants to come in and put in a business, we're going to let you do it. Then we're inviting a lot of problems. But do we need to look at regulating development and growth? Probably so. You know, and we did some of that recently when we passed an ordinance regarding buildings on the square and restricting the occupancy as residential structures instead of turning the square into apartments.
you have to have dual, you have to have 60% residential, 40% retail and commercial space if you're gonna live on our square now. We put that in about 2 months ago.
Yeah, it's, I mean, and that's a
It falls
creative.
under the same thing, yeah.
Yeah,
And
that's
the
creative.
immigration was in place before that, so
Right.
they're
Yeah.
grandfathered, but anything else that would come in now is gonna have to demonstrate that.
Well, it's pretty well common knowledge, I would think, that anybody that is gonna wanna duplicate what I'm doing with this facility down there, it's gonna wanna be on this main street here, for attention and advertisement, things like that. So I think if you put a planning and zoning plan for, like you did the square for Dallas Avenue, from one end to the other, I don't see where you would be out of line doing that, because at the same time, you're protecting the integrity and the beauty of your city, because everybody that visits here, that's the road they're coming in on. 95% of the traffic, that's what they're coming in on. So, especially for the people going to the parks and things like that, so.
My concern is that right now, there's at least 2 businesses that I know that are in the process and trying to close deals that you're familiar with too, that are about to get hammered out, and we don't want to interfere that whole
Right.
process, because those are very positive things that are coming down the future. So
The way and you guys definitely correct me if I'm wrong, the way I understood the moratorium, it's a temporary stop until you can put a long-term fix in place.
120 days is the longest a moratorium can go.
Right. So, I mean, with that said, is that something the council would look at for a temporary stop to visit a long-term fix for this issue?
So that's the question being posed tonight.
The long-term fix would not be a moratorium.
Right.
The long-term fix would be zoning
Planning and
and
zoning.
use restrictions.
Right.
For instance, some cities I've worked with have restricted the location and amount of facilities that serve alcohol.
Right.
And location's another spot, like Kevin just was talking about. That's the other thing I was trying to communicate, is there are very limited, for the size of building that they've said, there's very limited space on, that are zoned. These people haven't even come and asked for a permit. They've never come to City Hall and talked to us at all. They just got on Facebook. But for them to have a building the size that they're referring to, there's only very limited places where that could even happen. and there's just not enough space.
Well, and the flip side of that is if there is a place, once that toothpaste is out of that tube, it's very difficult to put it back in. And so, like I said, as a business owner here, and for multiple other business owners here, that's why I was asked for a temporary moratorium, the 120 days. Let's visit this through the planning and zoning channels and figure out what's best for the city. And if it turns out that there's two facilities like mine that's best for the city, then so be it. I'm okay with that. But at this point in time, by the research that I've done, it's not. And I mean, I'll be happy to share the statistics and the research I've done on the fitness centers.
So can we do a temporary while we decide if we even want to do a permanent fix to this?
We still have to have a finding that meets the criteria specified in the statute.
So technically, we need to go to the zoning commission first, correct? Is that what I'm understanding?
So we can't do anything?
So this is, I don't know if you want to write these down to go back and look at that. It's 212135, justification for moratorium, shortage of essential public facilities, and that's where it gets into, and it says you have to have evidence demonstrating the extent of need beyond the estimated capacity of the existing essential public facility that is expected to result from the new property development. Any essential public facility currently operating near or at or beyond a capacity. So if our water plant or sewer plant was at or near beyond capacity, and somebody was trying to move in here, we could say, no, we do not have enough water or sewer. The portion of the capacity committed to the development subject of the moratorium, the impact fee revenue allocated to address the facility needs. So it gives you very specific
Those are findings that the council would have to say that after a study we found that these issues are present which justify the moratorium.
So it's 212135 and it's 1351, and then
1352 relates to commercial
yeah.
development.
It says if a municipality adopts a moratorium on commercial property development that is not based on a demonstrated shortage of essential public facilities, the municipality must issue written findings based on reasonably available information that the moratorium is justified by demonstrating that applying existing commercial development ordinances or regulations and other applicable laws is inadequate to prevent the new development from being detrimental to the public health, safety, or welfare. So,
Now, I don't know what it would be down here, but up north, the city, because it was a resort town, they had plenty of issues. I mean, right down to they regulated your sign size and where you put it. But, they had you couldn't have a business of the same, so like 2 gyms, you couldn't do that within a 20-mile radius, 5-mile radius, whatever theirs was. But so they couldn't have back-to-back McDonald's, and McDonald's was literally at one end and then at the other end.
Right.
But cap on franchises and like businesses, and that protected a lot of the
Right.
downtown area that was all mom and pops. Would that be a different flip than a moratorium?
Well, what you're talking about is more restrictions which fall under like zoning type issues. You go to Plano and they don't allow tall signs.
Right.
Okay, so there's beautification zoning, well, those that's not a moratorium.
Right. That's what I mean, we need to go to a different solution, I guess, than a moratorium. Because we're not gonna follow it.
That's skin in a different cat.
and to be perfectly honest, is something that's gonna take some, it's getting zoning people together, and it's 4 individuals that are volunteers, so it's trying to get their mind to that and start trying to get information in front of them to help them understand that, because it's not discussions they've ever, come across before, so.
Well, let me suggest that you all look at the statute and look at the findings and take the information you've got to develop as to the findings with this community, and then let's let's pitch it over to the P and Z for them to go forward with P and Z. The P and Z can make a recommendation then to the
They could
council.
come to the planning and zoning
Yeah.
with a recommendation.
And then the P and Z would make a recommendation to the council.
Did I hear you right? That's what happened. They would come back and say,
Yeah.
come to the planning and zoning saying, this is what we're talking about. Trying to do it through a planning and zoning. Okay.
So you have the findings that we need to come to and bring those to the P and Z, and then the P and Z come back to the council.
So then I just need to ask this question to make sure then. So planning and zoning comes back and says, hey, we agree, we do agree with his logic that there's not a population size, and the only way we'd ever open up for another one is if our population doubled or got to this number, then they would say there's enough room, and we could put an ordinance in stating that, Jay, or we could zone it and restrict it that way?
I wouldn't use those words. What we would have to say
Sorry.
is that we find that the P and Z would have to have some written findings that they're asking to adopt.
Yep.
And one of those written findings would be that it would be detrimental to the welfare of the community but because of, and then it would have to spell out what the detriment was to the community. We're not doing, Mr. Carter, and not just to disparage you,
No,
but we want to make sure that it comes across as we're not doing this to favor you
I understand.
over somebody else.
And I would
Because
not.
if we did that, we'd all be in trouble.
Well, I understand, and that's why I have Chris here, because I want to make sure that any questions that I don't know the answers to, he does, and I know that's why you're here on their behalf. So I don't want anybody to think that I was here looking for a special favor or anything like that. This is a legitimate problem that the city's either going to have to address now or down the road when another business faces the same issue. So, you know, somebody's got to be the messenger, so.
Everything you've done has been over the top,
Thank you.
good for the community.
Thank you. And I plan on continuing that. It's, like I said, we've never asked the city, county, anything for a dime. This is actually the first request I've had of anything like this, and this is not just for me. And I know it sounds self-serving up here, but there is a lot of businesses here that are independently owned and operated, and they depend on Delta County for their income, so.
Every business Kevin's opened here, y'all, he's done it in the right fashion. Come to City Hall, what is the zoning, what are the permits? Way before he got all of his eggs in his cart, he made sure which way he was going, and we appreciate you doing that, Kevin. I cut you off, I'm sorry.
No, I was just gonna agree with Jay, as far as where I'm from Paris, we had developed, I say we, the city has developed sort of a master development plan. I say sort of, they have, which through zoning, and then we have a historic overlay district as well, that does serve a lot of what I think you all are like-minded and wanting to do, and does protect certain businesses through legal avenues. And it really does, I think, boil down to some form of a plan, but I think it is probably more appropriate to approach zoning first, get them on board, let them then come to the council, make a recommendation, and then hopefully we can.
I think Fredericksburg, Texas has gone through some sort of something like this. You might look and see how they did that.
Yes, that'd be a good point.
Okay, well, this was an action item on the agenda, so we'd be looking for a motion for us to have them go to the planning and zoning.
I'll make the motion.
We've got a motion from Alan, got a second from Amanda. Any questions on that? We all good?
Sir, thank you guys for your time, ladies.
Thank you. We'll take that to vote, David. Alan? Amanda? Donna? Bear? Okay, we'll do that, and y'all let me know that we don't have a regularly scheduled zoning meeting. We don't meet every month, but they're very flexible, and we can meet. So whenever y'all are ready, let me know, and we'll get one planned. I have to have 10 days notice, though.
Okay.
I have to post 10, well, no, hold on. Not for that meeting, that's just a presentation. That's only if we're making a zoning change. So, yeah,
Okay.
so I'll just need my regular posting. Okay. Thank y'all for coming.
Thank you very much for your time.
And y'all are welcome to hang out and listen to the rest of our fun tonight.
I think we're gonna go outside and chat.
Thank y'all. Thank you. Okay, item number 6 on the agenda, discuss and action on changing accounting system from accrual to modified cash basis. And this will go for you accounting majors. Our auditors are here right now and doing their normal audit, and the question was brought to us is, would you be willing to go to the cash basis instead of the accrual? So of course the question was, well, why are we doing the accrual? And it makes our auditor's job extremely hard, because what Emily does is on a cash basis, and then they have to convert it over into accrual to make it go into that format. Cash basis accounting is a much simpler form. It's going to make all of our reporting much easier to look at, because we're not accruing stuff out that they're having to go in there and make special calculations for. We're going to show it as is each month, what was spent, what was going. So our monthly reports are going to look better, and it's going to make their job a lot easier in what they're doing for us. Other than that, it is absolutely, you can see Emily put on here, nothing happens to our daily practices, nothing changes. It just makes it easier on their side. Jade, did I say that? I'm sorry. Thank you. So we would be looking for a motion to allow us to go from accrual to cash basis accounting. It's not going to change theirs at all, Bear. It's only going to make it easier on the accountants that do the, but it's going to make our reporting line up better, because there's some stuff, if you're really good at it, you'll go, this isn't matching up. Well, it's because they have to accrue for some things, and then it's a whole nother calculation. And they said, we don't need to be doing that. We can do it on a cash. Here's what we spent for the month. Here's what we brought in for the month. Yes, I agree. Got a motion from Bear? Second from David. Okay. Any questions on there? Okay, we'll take that to vote then. David? Alan?
Aye.
Amanda? Donna? Bear? Okay, ayes have that. That will stand. Number 7, discuss some possible action on ordinance which amends the ordinance regulating Kirkview hours and ages. Elmo was here last week to talk to about that, or last month, I'm sorry, and Jay has put an ordinance together, so be looking for, we can read that by caption if we have a motion.
Make a motion to read it back in.
Okay, got a motion from Alan, second from Donna. Let's take that to vote real quick. David? Alan?
Aye.
Amanda?
Aye.
Donna?
Aye.
Bear?
Aye.
All right, Jay.
Ordinance number 01-10-19, an ordinance of the city of Cooper, Texas, amending ordinance number 9-14-1971 for the regulation of the presence of minors under the age of 18 years on public streets, in automobiles, and other places between certain hours, and repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, and setting an effective date. And then it adopts the specific provisions as we discussed at the last meeting.
So we'll be looking for a motion to accept that. Got one from Baird, second from Allen. Any questions on that? It used to be 21, y'all. We took it down.
How many of y'all are 18?
It's
safe.
January.
You're good.
All right, we're gonna take that to vote then. David, Alan, Amanda, Bear. Okay, that ordinance will stand. And y'all, again, when you hear people say that our sheriff is not enforcing city ordinance, they came to us with this. We did not go to them. They are enforcing our ordinances in our community. Next on our agenda, discuss and approve a resolution casting votes for candidate for the Delta County Appraisal District Board for a 2-year term. They did not have their stuff together, so we're going to look for a motion to table that.
Motion to table.
Got a motion from David. Second from Donna. Take that to vote. David? Alan? Amanda? Donna? Okay, we'll hold that till we have the ballot from her, hopefully next meeting. Number 9, discuss some possible action on approving the updated personnel policy. Nobody's going to say that we rush things through by any means. I know this has drug on a little ways, y'all. Emily had to retype the changes from whenever we had our workshop and met and talked about this. We went through it. One thing that was added, does everybody have a copy of this? In your packet, Jay gave suggestion that we give this as an option for our employees, and it's a public access option for them. And essentially, it is letting employees opt out of their home address, telephone number, cell number, social security number, all those things, being able to be obtained through Open Records Act. There's no sense in giving out that kind of detailed information, so employees will be allowed to opt out for that. Everything else, y'all, is exactly what we talked about, the changes that you wanted made, and it's just a cleaned up version. If y'all feel like you want to take it home and look at it and approve it at the next month's meeting, you are fine. If you're comfortable with the changes, we can do that tonight also. That's completely up to y'all.
What we want to do tonight is indicate, get a consensus from the council on it, and then we will come back next month and adopt it by ordinance.
Thank you. I'm sorry, I misspoke. So tonight, y'all are going to look at that, and then if you're okay, we would adopt it next month by ordinance.
We need a motion to do that,
It is,
to look at
We
it.
would need a motion to direct the drafting of an ordinance to adopt it.
I make a motion to draft an ordinance to adopt the employee handbook.
Second. Got a second from Barry. Any questions on that? Okay, David? I'm sorry, we're going to vote. David, Alan? Amanda?
So abstain?
Donna?
Aye.
Barry? Okay, thank you. Might as well have that, Jay. If you can get us something for next month's meeting, we appreciate you. Discuss, number 10, discuss some possible action on zoning determination regarding the fence setback ordinance. So we had an individual come present to us. The planning and zoning individuals met. I believe you have a copy in your packet of the minutes from that planning and zoning meeting, and you can see that it was unanimous that the setback not be changed in this circumstance, and I asked him specifically, well, what's your reasoning behind that? Is because the setback ordinance was put in place for a reason. It is a safety issue, and if you start talking, well, we'll modify the fence or we'll do that, that's a fence ordinance issue. That's not a setback issue. The setback, so their concern was that was put in place for a solid reason. And we have to have those setbacks, and they did not feel that this was a situation that warranted that. They had no idea about any of the previous information, stuff about the lawyer or anything else before they made that determination. Because I didn't want to sway, I didn't want to color their judgment, exactly. So when they gave me that finding, I then brought them up to speed and said, well, let me explain to you, and they were adamant. And then it was, Kathy and Carolyn both were adamant that did not warrant a need for change. So at that point in time, that's really, it says discuss and possible action, so I guess we want a motion to accept the recommendation from the planning and zoning.
Sounds bad.
Okay, so we've got a motion from David to accept the recommendation from planning and zoning. Can we get a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, got a second from Don. Any questions on that, y'all?
One question on the, agenda item 2.
That's our next one.
Are we going back to it?
That's 11. They're separate,
Okay,
right?
I'm sorry.
Yes, two separate items. Yes, Don, thank you. Yep.
I didn't know.
Yeah.
So they were asked specifically about the fences? I'm sorry, you lost me somewhere.
Okay, so planning and zoning, when we came in, the request to them was to change the setback from, it's currently 25 foot, that's what the request was that was presented to them. Nobody came, I gave the individual and his caretaker information to be there. They were not there to present to us what their recommendation was, and the zoning said absolutely no, and it's because that setback's in there for a reason. It's not just on fences, it's houses, it's carports, it's porches, it's the setback for your intersection, control. So that's where
Gotcha.
that's where that came from.
I thought we were talking about the houses that were having the problems. That's
No.
where you lost me.
No,
Okay.
yep, no, this is on the
I got you.
fence, yep. Okay, so we already have the motion and the second, so any more questions on that? Okay, we'll take that to vote then. David? Alan? Amanda?
Aye.
Donna? Bear? Okay, ayes have that. That will stand. Next, discussing possible action on zoning determination regarding the change from single-family to multifamily for the address 411 West Fort Worth. Just to give you a directional, my house go southwest. It was Elmer Joe Wilson's old place. The individual who bought it would like to put a duplex on it. I think it fits great for what we're doing. We don't have a lot of multifamily right there, so it's not crowding in a bunch of multifamily.
Is it an empty lot right there?
Yes, ma'am, empty lot.
Is
The
it that
house,
empty lot
the city
diagonal?
tore down the lot, the house last year. So it's that one, diagonal across from me. So he presented to the zoning commission wanting to have that change from single family to multifamily and build a duplex. So it would be a true multifamily structure. Zoning commission was completely fine. You can see their findings there. We're okay with approving that. So their recommendation to the council is that we approve his request to allow that to go to multifamily.
So we'll see. Second.
Got a motion from Bear, second from Allen. Any questions on that? So he is changing that from single family to multifamily. Okay, we'll take that to vote. David? Allen? Amanda?
Aye.
Donna?
Aye.
Bear? Ayes have that. It's great to see people building and construction going on for sure. Item number 12, update on maintenance projects and update on the condemned houses. Alan, you'd asked me last month to give an update where we are on condemned houses. Let me talk to you on our maintenance projects right now. So Tex Trail, sewer line, tap, everything finished up out there. Southwest 7th Street, about 700 foot of sewer line, main line clean out. Along that, every time we would make a move with the machine, it was so wet over there, we'd break a water line. So about 3 water line breaks along the way there. Everybody now has new tap, new water. There's absolutely no way they're going to have any trouble over on that section anymore.
You say Tex Trail, you mean AWP?
I'm sorry, I said Tex Trail, but it's AWP. We did the sewer line on that. So we had some water and sewer taps for an individual that we've got knocked out, and some other. Obviously, we have to keep tickets and everything else that's on the daily stuff going. Right now, as far as big projects, we're about to come over on the end of West Waco at Delta Logistics and deal with that water leak over there that's been there for a very long time period. And we're going to dig that up, find where they're tapped in, and get that taken care of. We have another crew that is working over off of Southeast 1st and Beaumont, where the drainage that comes down off of 2nd, right there where Patrick Williams and them put their house in, where we just flood there. They're coming in and clearing all that drainage across Scotty Waller's property, so they're in there with chainsaws and clearing that all out so we get good drainage in through that, because we feel like the drainage is going to be our quickest issue because rainy season's upon us. We know we've got some other street repairs to finish up and what have you, and they're on that list, but right now that's where we're at on that. We're going to be an easy week, if not more, in that property of Scotty Waller's clearing. It hasn't ever been cleared out, so, and it's trees growing right up in front of the culverts and all the way through this pasture. So we're on board, he's on board with that, and we're getting that taken care of.
So is the city cleaning on his property or just the street?
No, it's our drainage, Donna, we have 4 large culverts that come underneath Beaumont Street there and rushes all that water from that side of town. And you'll see it when you're going around the loop, whenever that ditch is rolling out of control. That's the water. We have to get the drainage to that. So we're not clearing out. It is his property, yes, but we have a drainage easement, and we're coming through there and clearing that easement out.
Have you ever looked at beside the courthouse on that street, but then that ditch, all that water comes out and goes out to the big lake? Y'all have a look, try to open that ditch up a little bit.
What really needs to happen, Barry, is the ditch that runs on 3rd Street beside the police station that is filled in with gravel.
Yeah.
All that stuff just washes down there and fills in. So again, it is on ours list right now. So what we've done is we've just taken those bigger projects, the leak that was beside the sheriff's office, we've got them on a board, and we're just prioritizing each week as we go through. So, and still doing, like I said, the daily tickets and the things that come in that we have to do. Water leaks, we got yesterday, an electric company hit a water main while they were doing some electric, and it's going to happen. We clipped part of Cumbie Tails, phone lines the other day. I mean, those things are going to happen. So, but we are making good progress on those big ticket items or on those large projects.
How far down your list is, it's not just because I live in the area, it's because I've had several people stop and ask.
Sure, you bet. That's a hot topic.
Kaufman Street.
Honestly, Donna, it's on
a week, 2 weeks, 4 weeks?
The list that we're working off of in a total is probably about a 4-week out thing, but it's in there in the middle stage. So essentially, when we're done with that big drainage that we're on over on Beaumont, or possibly when we get done, we've got about 5 culverts that people have ordered that are waiting on, and so we've got to get those put in, and then we should be able to get over to. There's several spots that we've repaired that we need to blacktop over.
It's not just that area, it's down also at 8th Street,
Yeah.
Kaufman.
Yeah. And then over there by Patrick Williams, where we had to put in their water and sewer on Kaufman, we had to dig all the way across those streets. We need to get a little asphalt across that. So we've got several areas where we've dug that we need to come back and lay that on. So it's in that time frame there. Anything else on maintenance projects?
What about the dam? Is it done?
Thank you. Yes, the dam did. It was, and we came in under what we thought it was going to cost us. Also, it was about $40-something thousand to get everything done, and I really thought we were going to hit a 70+ mark. But all the dirt work has been done. All the clearing has been done on the spillway side and up around the edge of the lake. The only thing we're really struggling at right now is trying to come up with a efficient way to get that seeded and watered. And the seeding parts we've got figured out. It's the watering of that to get the seed to take hold. And that's become much more of a project. I've actually called all the road crew companies even to see if they would contract and come and water for us after we got it hydromulched. And they're like, no way, I have no time, go rent one. There is not a water tanker truck within 200 miles from any rental company. The guy called and said, go buy one, I'll rent it for you. Said there's not, I can't get one. And they said, and they're months in advance. They said, if you get one rented, don't turn it back in. Just hold on to it. Because you can't get it. But the dam itself has gone very smooth. Those guys did us an excellent job while we're out there. And then our guys got in and did some work on the sprinkler area there out at the water plant to make sure that can go as it's designed. So that's all good. So yes, thank you for reminding me on that. Anything else on maintenance I'm forgetting? I went through and looked at all the houses that I tagged last December for demolition, and just to give you a status on that. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4 that are in process by the owners themselves. Some in different forms of stage of that process. The Wilson house down on 1st Street, they were looking for a little help getting the roof down so they can finish the rest of the salvage work. So I turned them on to the cleanup crew. So we have those that are in process. Ones that we have already had taken out from Sanitation Solutions or the Cooper Cleanup Crew, or owners themselves have had taken down. We have 1, 2, 3. Yep. Oh, they get the trash picked up there too? Great. So we have 5 that have come down. Sanitation Solutions